There we go. This is a conversation between Hank and Jerry about Upkido. It is September 23rd, 2025. And I did not I have not made time to go take the Claude output and turn it into the Google site for Upketo. I did just now add you as an editor to the site,
Yeah,
and I will go try. I already have moved the Claude output into an Obsidian Markdown file, so I just need to copy paste from there into the website. So
yeah.
I don't think that'll be that hard. I kind of like what I had on the home page, and I don't want to lose that entirely. So, and I forgot to ask Claude to fold that into the content. Uh,
Ah, right. Yeah,
so we'll see how that works. Uh,
yeah,
but it's
yeah,
in general, I think we're in a good spot.
yeah. I just opened it because the link on the shared doc only came to a placeholder page with a very interesting upkido.com and looking like a big storm coming our way. We're under construction. Check back later. But I've now opened the link that you just sent, and that's looks good enough, at least for the start.
Oh,
Yeah,
so regular Aikido.com wasn't going to the right place because right right now it goes to the right place for me.
I'll
Are
show.
you still getting a broken Upkido.com when you just go to the site?
Let's see. I was using the link in our Google Docs, and when I open that up, yeah, then I still get this upketo.com. Let's see, can I make a
That's weird. Because I
screenshot
think
of
I
it?
fixed it so that if you don't do the W's or don't do the HTTPS, it should still work. I think I fixed that.
Let's see, can I send you
I should
this?
open it in Firefox and see if there's a difference.
Yeah, I'm using Firefox, in fact. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm in Chrome all the time.
yeah, I try to avoid Chrome if at all possible.
Huh.
Let's see, can we get this somehow?
Oh, we're under construction. You're right.
Ah, you've seen it, yeah, because I just did a
I get a
screenshot.
coming
But
soon page if I don't put the W's and other stuff in it. So I
yeah,
let me go to Squarespace and fix that after our call. So
okay, yeah,
okay, that's good. I should fix that. And I've had to fix that sort of site by site as I go.
right. And I did get a chance to sort of proofread and edit a bit our message. I don't know if you had a look at that yet, but I think it's
Which
at the
which one
moment
which one do you mean?
in the Google Docs. Would you
Ah,
like to practice Upketo?
oh, okay. Uh,
I changed the order of a couple of sentences and another word here and there.
cool,
And I think it's, I mean, it could be better, but I think it's good enough.
cool. Two. Good. Sorry, I'm just finding all of our stuff again.
Yeah.
16 today. Good. Um, there we go. Okay, the 23rd. But is this the document called Would You Like to Practice Aikido? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I'm in it now. Um, connect to today's notes. Here's today's notes, and we're on our way. Oh, good. Thank you. I hadn't gone back there, and we do need to finish this. That's good. Um, okay. Just also, let's do a little brief update from last time. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
any insights, conversations, other sorts of things on your side?
Yeah. I had two. good conversations. One of them with Khalid, who I emailed you about.
Hmm.
He's an extremely open, curious, and intelligent child psychiatrist, always looking to find ways to leave the world a better place. So improve everything you touch.
Hmm.
Really hit the spot for him. He's extremely busy and he has two young children, so it's not always possible to get him either in a face-to-face or online. We
Yeah.
tend to be face-to-face 3 times a year, and he was over here this past Sunday. And I sort of presented the ideas of a design from trust. Leave the world better, improve everything you touch, Upkido Commons, all seem to resonate with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, we had a much broader conversation with Jose, my wife, as well. And one thing I believe he would be contributing is a kind of questioning perspective in ways of and that reflects the way his own psychiatry practice is organized by trying to find out personal things about the people you're talking with.
Hmm.
Whether the person seems to have ideas which resonate with you or that clash very much with you, have a conversation about, tell me about yourself. Uh, what do you think is important? How did you get that idea? Where do these things that you're talking about come from?
Hmm.
Uh, and a kind of very open approach to understanding the person behind the person who's in conversation with you, who's in the dojo practicing with you. Very useful for people who we think resonate with ourselves, and probably very useful with people who seem to have completely different perspectives on life than ourselves. And
Hmm.
I think that's something he would be ready to and able to contribute to conversations or practice in the dojo. He's very concerned with the person as opposed to the client.
Hmm.
And where does someone in our day and age find the things that he or she believes in?
Hmm.
And that resonates very much with me as well. And I think it's quite relevant to a practice in the dojo. This morning, I had a conversation with Paolo Martinez, a very close friend of mine from Italy. I've told him about OGM in the past. I'm not sure, and he's not sure if he ever took part in an OGM call. Possibly not,
Hmm.
but we've talked about OGM quite a lot in the last several years. And I also told him about Upkido, the commons, the dojo, and the kind of things we have in mind. And he contributed the idea of scaffolding.
Hmm.
That's what I tend to call these days protocols, and what one might call kata. And he's citing both Piaget and Vygotsky about the scaffolding of how people get and maintain their ideas, also perhaps at a very young age. And I thought that would also be quite interesting. He's also an older white guy, but at least from a completely different culture.
Right.
Uh, Khalid is, I think, in his 40s, perhaps young 40s. Paulo
Okay.
is in his young 60s. But they're both from different cultures and from different backgrounds.
Hmm. Love that. Totally love that. Mm. And then on my side, I had a call with Amy Blankson, who I met through a workshop we both attended that April also attended a year and a half ago, something like that. She works on happiness and positive psychology, is a public speaker, and things like that, and has other things going on. Um, and she had reached out to me and said, I have a funny feeling that the things that you're working on and I'm working on are probably pretty close to each other. Why don't we just chat? And we had a terrific hour-long conversation. Uh, and a bunch of interesting things came out of it. I mentioned Upkido. I forgot to mention the Joy line, I'm just realizing. So I should say
Yeah.
that. But she was enthusiastic about Upkido, and that was a really nice conversation. And then she was working a bit on parenting and smartphones and how, I think she and I share the notion that just removing smartphones from kids as the answer for like preventing addiction and all that kind of stuff is a dumb idea. And she has some really nice productive advice on how to make it a good thing and how to use the whole exercise to build trust in your kids. So we vibed on that a bit, and we agreed to record a couple of podcasts together, and to
Yeah.
invite a couple other people into the podcast per topic. So we're gonna create like three different topics for three podcasts, just as an experiment, and then see how that goes. But she's really interesting. I sent you in the chat a link to her in my brain, so you
Yeah.
can see what she's up to. But it was really fun. It was just like I thanked her a lot for just thinking of having the call because we clearly had a lot of things that were in common.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Uh, in that context, I was introduced to one of the orchestrators, curators of the Values-Based Institute
Mm,
in in Sweden. I think I know who introduced me there. A very interesting older white guy. But I was introduced to Ava Anderson,
mm,
who is the curator of a lot of activities there. I can get you a link to one of their LinkedIn pages. She works with Let's Talk Values, a series about bringing values-based thinking into leadership in organizations.
mm-hmm,
She had heard about and read about things that I was doing with World Values Day and intergenerational dialogues based on making values explicit. She wants to know more about that, hopes to start a conversation, introduce a number of her recent projects, and I would tell about my recent projects. So we haven't spoken yet. But I was intending to tell her about Upkido Commons and Dojo,
mm-hmm,
and to the extent that building from trust, designing from trust, improving the world every time you touch it, is a very values-based frame mindset. It could very well be that she would be interested in that.
mm-hmm,
And well, that's another possibility of getting a woman, also non-North American,
mm-hmm.
involved in conversations.
Nice. I like this a lot. Thank you. And I'm adding her and the article to my brain.
Yeah, they seem to do a lot of good work. They're not extremely well known, but just as the World Values Day people that I was doing the intergenerational dialogues with do a lot of really good work, and they're not well known either.
Mm-hmm,
So it just repeats for me the lesson that there's lots of really interesting things going on out there that we don't know about and don't know about each other. And one of the important things I think is to do is to raise awareness amongst people doing good things, that they're not alone, and there are lots of other people in the world doing similar things or things that resonate with each other.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm doing a little bit of brain editing. So I had value-based management in my brain from before. I'm adding the institute. There we go. Um, and then I'm connected to some values-based stuff out of the Strengths Finder kind of thing. The Know Your Strengths is a bunch about values.
Yeah,
And there's kind of a bunch of thinking out of that. I haven't really thought of how that connects in to what we're doing here, but that's making me think about it.
yeah. I mean, a lot of things that I do and that you do are very implicitly about values, although it's something I don't often talk about. It was I have this background of doing innovation work at government ministries with engineers and accountants. So
Yeah,
almost never talked about creativity or spirituality for that measure, because whether they are very creative or very spiritually inclined, those are not labels that those type of people tend to use.
right.
And values, for the same reason, wasn't a label that I tended to use until a couple of years ago when I got involved with World Values Day. So I think it's very important that it's implicitly in the Upkido dojo, and maybe explicitly too. We have to decide when there are more people involved whether that resonates or whether it should be very present, should be very present but below the radar.
Hmm. I think there's at least one or more interesting blog posts or recordings we should do about, what values does the Aikido philosophy imply or support?
Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense. And it's funny because you make this conversation is making me think about the difference between beliefs and values. So
yeah,
when I say, and I just made a post on LinkedIn about, I'll put a link to it in the chat. I just made a post on LinkedIn about people are generally more trustworthy than we think they are, which is a belief of mine. And
yeah.
and and I think sometimes our beliefs shift around. I'm wondering whether beliefs are more malleable than values in our lives, and whether values are less explicit than beliefs. Because I think,
Uh,
like you were just saying, we don't talk out loud about the values that often, but we express our beliefs a bunch, I think, to each other without even
yeah,
saying, this is my belief, but rather we blurt out something that we heard or think because it forms, it's affecting how we see the world and what we think about the world, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just a normal thing that you might add. I believe that. I say that and write that all the time without ever thinking about, yeah, what does that actually mean? And where did I get that belief? And that's one of the reasons I like Khalid's approach to changing the world one conversation at a time, in that he tries to make those things explicit, and then it becomes a learning opportunity for all of the people in the conversation.
Hmm. That's cool. And we could point to a whole bunch of interesting things. I'm having a I'm remembering something. Um, so I spent the last week in Berkeley. I attended two events, and there's some things from the events that I should relate into this conversation. One of which is, I think, really important. The event I traveled to Berkeley for was the responsive.com conference, which was about responsive management, self-managed enterprises. It was heavily attended by HR, OD, people, like chief people officer kind of people. There were a lot of those people represented in the 150 attendees. But in one of the exercises, one of the groups I was in, we talked about play and
Yeah.
how important play is, and why did we separate play out? And I think play is a huge thing we can talk about, experiment with, and fold into Upkido, um, because it just makes so much sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Play is uh, in the Dutch language, we would use the word play much more often than it's used in English. We talk about the roles we play, and this is the way we act, and who are the important players, and how would this play to other people. And it's
Oh yeah,
in my experience, it's a much more front of mind word. It's a much more front of mind concept. I mean, the world, what was Shakespeare's quote? The world's a stage, and
Spirits on the
all of
stage.
us are actors. And
Yeah,
uh, that would resonate very well with people speaking Dutch. I wonder, would it still resonate very well with people speaking English?
yeah. Is
Uh,
the Dutch word like the German word spielen?
yeah, spelen.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's interesting. And also, there's a nuance here, which is the difference between a role in a play or a play as a theater piece
Mm.
and play in general. Because the theater part of it is very specific, and the play thing is really broad. It's like any kind of play, like a playful comment or organizing a game or whatever, all those kinds of things.
There's a key 20th century book written by Dutch
Yes.
uh, philosopher, sociologist Homo Ludens. Just put a link to it in the chat here, and perhaps that's one of the reasons that it's a important concept.
1938.
Yeah,
Yes, I've never read it, but Johann Huizinga,
yeah,
who also wrote The Autumn of the Middle Ages in 1919,
yes, yeah.
cultural historian. Um, oh, and he created something called game studies or ludology.
That's interesting. That I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if this Wikipedia page is still alive.
I-
I'm
I'll,
reading it
I've got
now. Yes,
the
it,
present one is I just put into the chat. At least that's the one that I
yeah,
referenced.
yep.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And there's game studies or ludology.
And the way play is thought about in all kinds of different concepts: Greek, Sanskrit, Chinese, Blackfoot, Japanese, Semitic languages, and Latin.
Yeah.
Really interesting stuff. Yeah.
There's a draft post I think I've got, or if not, I need to create it right away. But I mentioned this in Berkeley at this event that for some reason in modern Western living, work, learning, and play are separate spheres in our lifetime and in our day.
Yeah.
We go to work, we only work. We might get sent to a course to learn something, and then we come home and maybe we play a game with our spouse or family or whatever, and like that. But in our lives, you get to play as a young kid, then you have to learn, and you compact that. And there are little moments like called recess when you get to play as you learn. Then you have to work, and then you get to retire and maybe play at the end of your life, right? That's kind of mapped that way. And long ago, those three circles were one circle. They overlapped. And when you read about the San Bushmen in Africa, when they go for a hunt, they take the young kids with them and they're singing, dancing, teaching kids how to track, how to hunt. all those kinds of things are all simultaneous. The learning, the work, and the play are all integrated. And modernism and civilization seem to come with this artificial separation and boundary making that isn't helping us, because one of the things that tremendously helps creativity and also job satisfaction is a sense of play at work, right?
Absolutely.
And I think
Absolutely.
one of our fears is that if we're too playful, we're not taking work seriously. But for me, play is really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
my first boss in the world was at Mobil Oil. His name was Chris Caseman. He was the youngest company commander in Vietnam. He was a short West Virginian with a great sense of humor, a slightly blue sense of humor that completely went away when he became a born again Christian way later. Like I visited with him, years later, and I was like, oh my gosh, different person. But he had a very nice way of being playful at work. And then every now and then there was a deadline, there was a thing that really had to get done, and we just buckled down and did it, and then went back into a much looser mode of with a lot of humor.
Yeah. 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 Going further on in terms of play and even play in modernity, when Jose and I travel, uh, she always picks up how children are playing on the street, or are there any children playing on the street? So in the Netherlands, it's not so common for children to play on the street, but
Yep.
in small play spaces where there's a bench for mothers or fathers to sit, they tend to be plastic, not plastic, rubber. Tiles, so that if the child falls down,
They
the
don't hurt
child won't
themselves.
injure itself.
Yep.
Uh, and of course, children would never ever be playing in the Netherlands in the evening or when it's getting dark. One of the things we really liked when we were in Uzbekistan last year is that children were playing outdoors and unsupervised well into dusk. It was amazing that it was in all the places that we visited,
Oh, that's
this
great.
kind of red thread that it was safe enough that children could play without adult supervision. And the concern wasn't that the child might come home with a bruised elbow or knee, because that's part of what play gives,
Yeah,
learning to
yeah,
deal with that. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Love that. Um, okay, so we can sort of schedule into what we want to do around Upkido, some play, conversations about play and some play itself, I think.
Yeah. Very, very good. Yeah, indeed. Play itself.
Yep.
Uh, I'm not all that play I'm not all that playful, so I need someone who's more playful to organize that
We
type of
can figure
stuff.
that out. Yeah, and I've got a bunch of friends who lead with play, who do a lot of play related
Yeah.
consulting or speaking or things like that. That would be fun.
And Paulo, who I mentioned at the beginning of the call, he's very good with play. He's good with word play. I mean, he's
Mm,
excellent with English language word play. So I think in Italian, he knocks people out. But he's very playful. Uh, yeah.
love that. Love that. Good. So glad I reported back on that. Also, not specifically about a keto, but maybe. Gosh, I wonder how this fits. So Saturday this weekend, I was at an unconference all day, 9 to 5, at the University of California, Berkeley, convened by the wife of the couple that I was staying with, who works at the medical center at the medical school at Cal, at Berkeley. And the whole topic of the unconference was health futures. So there were,
Ah.
I don't know, there were probably 100 people, maybe 130 people convened for to break out into groups for the whole day. And I did a breakout about abundance. How might we create abundance in healthcare was my topic, and it was really nice. And one of the things I'm going to do when we're done talking is collect up my notes and the pictures that we took and all that kind of stuff, and send it back to the organizers and my teammates,
Yeah.
my talk mates. Um, but toward the end of the day, I was in somebody else's discussion and I had a thought that I just want to put in the conversation here, which was I think there might be an interesting moment right now in American politics for a party that might not be the Democratic Party or the Republican Party to show up and say, hey, our platform is these five, six, or seven amendments to the US Constitution that fix that fix a whole lot of problems that we're facing that we're not dealing with that have become sharper in the Trumpocalypse. Basically, with Trump's destroying things, which was a response to people thinking the system's not working well. So why don't we actually make the Constitution live a little again, and then bake into it things that, and then my criterion for the platform was uh, the American public has to already back each of these amendments at least 60%.
Yeah.
And I'm in a conversation with a pretty conservative friend of mine where I've got to find the email he sent, but he listed a whole bunch of issues and he said, look, on this set of issues, Democrats and Republicans alike vote majority over 60% on either
Yeah.
side on this set of issues. And I'm forgetting exactly what the issues were, but let's pretend one of them is an assault weapons ban, right?
Yeah.
Gun control, nobody can agree on complete gun control, but there's a general majority opinion that assault weapons that are designed to shred human flesh don't really have to be
Yeah.
out on the street, right? And great. So let's amend the Second Amendment a bit, and which is our right to bear arms amendment, and do something else. But I'm wondering, and just to link that back to our conversation, I think that I it would be interesting to bake an Upkido philosophy into the amendments, right?
Yeah.
Like how do
Yeah.
you write them in the spirit of uplift and also design from trust? Like how do we bake that into a new set of amendments? And the reason I say, and it's really hard in the US to pass amendments to the Constitution. One of the amendments might be making it easier to amend the Constitution.
Yeah.
That could actually be a thing. Maybe that's the first one to pass. um, but I think that we're at a political moment where if somebody comes in against the MAGA right with a wimpy program of just patching things up, they will not get elected. I just think they will not get elected. They need to somebody needs to go big and say, hey, we think this is a moment to actually change governance substantially. And I would do things like, and I don't know that this one has a majority of the American population because it's a little bit wonky, but statistical redistricting, meaning right now we're fighting a war
Yeah.
of gerrymandering our little
Yeah.
districts. We should make it so that either individual independent committees do the redistricting, or it's just statistical. It's like,
Yeah.
whoop, here's how the numbers land, and good luck. Here are your new districts. But we should not be messing with our populations in a way that disenfranchises everybody and screws things up, which is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And both sides are in the middle doing that right now. Anyway,
I was in a conversation this morning in which people felt that health and healing and health care could easily become an issue for all sides of the very fractured Dutch political system.
mm,
And I was wondering whether I know there's been a big problem about Obamacare and things like this, but is that an issue which would bring everyone together in American politics?
healthcare.
Yeah,
Maybe, I don't know. But part of the problem with healthcare is that it's been very divisive.
yeah,
Um, Hillary Clinton, under the Clinton administration, she tried to come up with a healthcare plan that was shoved back down their throats.
yeah,
Obamacare passed, and there have been many, many attempts to destroy it. It has been weakened very considerably. Um, and and it seems to be an easy issue to ignite a torch. I mean,
Mm.
I would make one of the amendments single payer healthcare across the country and get rid of the health insurance companies. Like
Interesting.
the
Yeah,
all the middlemen in medicine that basically make it really complicated and jack up costs, I think, uh, should not be there.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't know if that needs to be a constitutional amendment because it's about industrial structure in one industry, healthcare. But but that might be a really nifty way to do it.
Indeed.
Maybe it's not an
Indeed.
amendment, it's just a bill. Because, plenty, the Federal Communications Commission comes out of the Federal Communications Act in 1930 something. Plenty of government agencies have come out of bills passed in Congress. So, so I don't know if it's a unifying topic in the US. I think it's an important topic to everybody, but it tends to seem more divisive than unifying.
Well, it has been in the past divisive. So the
Well,
question is, does it have to be? I mean, how could the issue of having good health for your children or for your family members or your community? I realize what's going on now with RFK, but still,
yeah,
yeah, it does seem to have a potential to have people agree on what what, even if they disagree on how.
yeah.
And
Um, I agree. Another thing that came up in last week in a couple places was something I found years ago that is the difference between wealth, Wealth, and
yeah,
wealth spelled with two L's, so Wellth.
ah,
And
yeah,
it's a reframing of wealth, where wealth is usually collecting more money than everybody else has, or as much money as you can. And wealth is actually about subjective well-being and might involve knowing kind of how much you need and stopping when you have enough,
yeah,
right? But
yeah,
also, wealth probably has to do with your relationships, your health, your habits, your frame of mind. All those kinds of things would compose, I think, your wealth. And maybe there's a little role for Upkido in there.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
wealth can even be baked into some of the statement of principles. Like, we're trying to promote the general wealth
yeah,
of the population.
yeah, yeah. I like that. Uh, yeah. Do people in America talk about well-being?
Some, yes.
Yeah, because that's a quite a good issue here in the Netherlands, although there's a lot of lip service on it the last 15 years, and it's in danger of being what we decide to call spoiled ideas.
Hmm.
But it is a very powerful way to unite people again on the what, even if the how is open.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. Huh. Good. So we're a little stuck because I didn't spend the time to redo the website with the content from Claude. I will get on that now, in the next day or two, and then send you that. Also, you said Khalid might be interested in joining us next week at this time.
He has put it in his planning book. I
Okay.
mean, he still has to confirm, but he said it seems like it could happen next week at our normal time, 2 hours later.
Yeah.
Uh, if we say we're ready to take in a third person, or maybe even a fourth person, I think Khalid would add a rather interesting perspective to the things we're talking about.
Yep. Yep. I think so too. So it would be lovely. Um, should we plan a particular kind of conversation for when he joins us? I mean, should we plan for that next week?
Well, I told him. briefly about the underappreciated ideas, the underused ideas, spoiled ideas, and mentioned the concepts from indigenous practice,
Hmm.
indigenous wisdom. So he does know that that's at the basis of all our conversations until now.
Hmm.
Told him a bit about Aikido and what Upkido could be.
Cool.
And any of those things, if we said, this is what we are hoping to accomplish, how do you see it? And then that opens him up to say, yeah, but where do you get those ideas, Jerry? And why do you believe that's important, Hank? So
Yeah.
that anything like that could lead to a good conversation. Or we could say that the two of us have a number of open questions which we haven't talked about enough or thought about enough. And why don't we use two or three of those open questions for the conversation?
That sounds great. That sounds great. My video is a little glitchy. I've noticed like 5 times so far in the call where it does a little thing like that. I don't know if it's the camera or the cable or what, but it's not good.
Yeah, it's just like with all updates, which I recently had, it's always worse than the original.
Yeah, yeah. Darn.
Yeah. So we could, in the coming days, just exchange by email or I don't know. We're not connected by WhatsApp. Do you use that or
I do, I
Signal?
do.
So we could either
You can
connect on WhatsApp or Signal or both.
find me on WhatsApp at my phone number and let's connect. I just put my phone number in the chat. If you connect to me on WhatsApp, we will have that as an easier way to chat.
Yeah. So just maybe. What you remember Leif Edvinson,
Yeah.
what Leif always calls mental ping pong
Right.
about which questions are still open and close enough to our surface that'd be good to exercise them with a third or possibly even fourth partner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Huh.
Is there someone you think would be useful to add as a fourth sparring partner at this stage, or would you prefer just to have Khalid, for example?
So I'm wondering whether Amy Blank, whether she would could join us because it might be a really interesting mix.
Yeah,
Huh. Let me ask her.
yeah.
Let me ask her and see how that goes.
I mean, it's very clear that parenting is one of the key things that any child psychiatrist is dealing with these days. So he can sometimes be a bit doctrinaire, but usually he's open to exchanging ideas and he knows a lot.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Happiness in psychology. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that is like a red flag for a bull for me because I always like to say happiness is one of the great distractions of our time,
Mm.
and the whole idea of being happy leads our attention away for many more important things than being happy
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
being happy for the next 7 generations or the last 7 generations is a better way to think about the pursuit of happiness than the
Mm-hmm.
way that it tends to be translated today. So I'm happy to talk about that as well.
Mm-hmm. You're reminding me of stuff like oblique strategies, where happiness is not a thing to aim for directly, but it's a byproduct of
Yeah,
of other activities.
yeah.
And then also, Finland keeps winning the world's happiest country surveys, which are sort of suspect. I mean, I don't know how much credibility you put in those, but they get a lot of publicity out of it, and they like that. But when you meet a Finn, they're usually quite taciturn. And the sentence I heard about that I really like is that what probably makes them land at the top of the scores is that the difference between what they expect and what they get is less than everybody else. Like in America, we expect the American dream and all these great things to happen and confetti from the skies, and we get reality, which is kind of lumpy. And I think that varies by country, of course. But for the Finns, very likely what they grow up expecting and what the government says to expect and what, whatever is probably really close to felt and experienced reality. And that margin is happiness. Like
That's a very good insight. Yeah,
the
I
smaller
like
the
that.
margin, the more the
Yeah,
happiness because they're meeting expectations by their lives, right?
yeah,
It's very interesting.
very interesting. Of course, one of the things is that there's so few people in Finland, and people have always needed to rely on each other to get through the cold of the winter, for example. So everyone knows everyone, and if you don't know a particular person, you know someone who knows them. It's a very it's not 6 degrees of separation, but probably 2 degrees or 3 degrees of
Hmm.
separation. So I know a number of Finns. I've worked quite extensively in Finland, and if you mention people, uh, more chances than not, they know, at least they know of the existence of that person, or they know something about what that person is doing, even if they don't know him or her
Hmm.
personally.
Hmm.
But that idea about the margins, I think, is very, very interesting. I never actually thought about it that way.
Hmm. It's interesting.
And there's also something in a national character. I mean, I personally I love stereotypal things. I know a lot of Finnish people. I know a lot of Swedish people, and there's not all that much difference in the way society is organized. But the Finns are rather happy and accepting of their world, and Swedish people tend to be very critical and complaining about their world.
That's interesting.
So there is something in being a Finn, and there's something in being a Swede, which is very noticeable and
Hmm.
different.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting. Huh. Um, what else fits in Upkido in the big basket we're building?
Yeah, I'm very influenced by Antonio Guterres, who is leaving the United Nations soon, and very interesting to who's going to replace him. There's a Costa Rican person who seems to be making a good chance at that. Her work is very interesting. But
Hmm.
Antonio Guterres made very explicit for me the importance of intergenerational solidarity and intergenerational shared agendas uh, several years ago with
Hmm.
his publications from the United Nations. So my lack of any contact with young people is always very frustrating in my own thinking about the world, because I can't test any of my ideas against what the next generations or the generations 3 or 4 removed feel is important.
Yeah.
So I think the putting generations together in any kind of practice in an Aikido dojo or an Aikido commons is important.
I like that. Makes sense. Huh.
There was a discussion on BBC World Service this morning, which unfortunately I missed, and I'll have to try to find it, where a number of people were talking about how to make the United Nations more relevant in the 21st century. Of
Yeah.
course, uh, I think at the moment Trump is speaking to the General Assembly.
Oh,
Guterres
yeah.
opened it about an hour and a half ago with a
Wow.
quite a fiery speech, but people have not really united behind the idea of the United Nations as important. in their lives or in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a point that he was trying to make in his opening speech, that if you look at the world around you, everything is so fragmented and so conflictual. Where is the place to bring things together?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I can't think of her name at the moment, but I can Google it. The Costa Rican diplomat thinks of the United Nations also as a place for bringing people together to talk about the important things of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can
Let me
get the
find that. I'm looking under
reference.
Costa Rica to see who you might mean.
She is at the moment the director of one of the main United Nations activities. Let me just see. Her first name is Rebecca with one C. And I think if I do it correctly, it's
Andrade?
Rebecca
Rebecca Andrade? No,
Gwyneth.
that's a gymnast. Never mind.
Uh,
Rebecca.
Gwyneth. Let's see if that works.
No, I don't have
No.
any. Rebecca's in my brain with one C who seemed to fit the description.
She was a vice president of Costa Rica for a term.
Hmm.
Let's see.
Greenspan.
Sounds very familiar. You have it?
Well,
Rebecca?
I just Googled Vice President of Costa Rica, so I got Rebecca Greenspan. I'll
Yeah.
put her link in the chat.
Yes, Greenspan, indeed. Yes. Uh, she has done a bit of public speaking and writing recently about what she feels the future of United Nations could or should be.
Mm-hmm.
From what I read, and well, being a well-informed generalist, it seems like she would have a new but resonating uh, presence to what Antonio Guterres has been trying to establish. Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. She's an economist, head of UNCTAD, Secretary General of UNCTAD.
yes, UNCTAD, yes,
Uh,
indeed.
so you're saying she might be the next Secretary General?
She seems to be one of the front runners at the
Cool.
moment.
That's cool.
That would be very cool, absolutely.
Yeah. So interesting.
So building on, I mean, I did a sort of anecdotal sidestep for the intergenerational because the United Nations was my great inspiration for that.
Hmm.
But uh, in terms of your question, what else might be interesting or relevant for Upkido Commons
Mm-hmm.
are, in general, venues that people can come together to discover what's important to each other and then
Mm-hmm.
do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I'm just brainstorming, playing off what you said. Um, what if we laid out a blueprint for convening um, nugget sharing sessions where anybody can talk about something cool and uplifting they found in the world, describe it, and then improve it in some way.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Yeah, to some extent, I guess Open Global Minds is, for me, one of the places where I can come to hear about those things. But
Yeah.
the format of the Thursday discussions is, I think, something that should be reinvented for a dojo practice.
I like
So,
that.
So yeah, I like the way that you put it about sharing uplifting nuggets.
Yeah, I'm adding it to my brain as
Yeah,
how about
excellent.
an open blueprint for Upkido nugget sharing sessions?
Yeah,
That would be interesting. And I
yeah.
mean, I was in talking to Amy, I described Upkido, and she one of her reactions was, "Oh, are you going to do a workshop around Upkido?" And I laughed because from our conversations and from my thinking about Upkido, the idea that this is a profit generating entity hadn't entered my head. And I had not thought, oh my gosh, we could sell workshops around this. And I kind of said, if this becomes a gentle social movement, that would be a big success. But then I thought it might actually be interesting to do a workshop or to do something else. I'm not going to dismiss that at all. Um, but this was clearly on my, hey, this is for the benefit of the world column, not the how to make a living column. And
Yeah,
as a
I
social
agree.
movement artifact, an Upkedo nugget sharing session sounds like a cool thing. I mean,
Yeah.
people would show up, and maybe there's a format. I invented at the retreats, I invented the 5 minute university,
Mm,
which is that take something you know a lot about. And my first 5 minute university was about tea and the fact that all teas are made from the same tea leaf, they're just treated differently, and if it's not that leaf, then it should be called an infusion. So mint tea is not a tea, it's an infusion,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Chamomile tea is not a tea, it's an infusion.
Yeah.
And then the difference between green tea all the way to pu'er. And and you get exactly 5 minutes to talk about whatever it is you really care about.
Yeah.
Then we get 5 minutes to ask you questions, and then we bounce to the next 5 minute talk, and you keep the timer going. You don't want to do this for too long. Like an hour is pretty good. You get six people up and down in an hour. And if you start doing it for longer than an hour, it gets a little exhausting because it's so quick, right?
Yeah.
But then you know which of the six people you want to go grill afterward.
Yeah.
JP Rangaswamy, who's worked at a whole bunch of big companies, was at one retreat, and his 6 minute university was about discovering and learning the recipe for the best bolognese sauce in
Yeah.
Italy, actually in the city of Bologna. And he was in Bologna, decided to stay a week and go to every restaurant he could find and taste their bolognese, and then go back to the best one and say, "Tell me the recipe." So that was his, and it was
Uh,
great. It was great,
yeah.
totally memorable.
So my workshopper's brain has just been working out. Instead of six people in an hour, you would want five people in an hour, and the last 10 minutes would be talking about what the different nuggets had in common, for
Love that.
example.
Love that. That could be great. Which is
Yeah.
basically um super.
And not difficult to host or facilitate. You just need a timekeeper. And if it's done online,
Yep.
it's easy to have a timekeeper. So the only thing is you introduce each person, and at the end you ask the plenary, well, what did you think? Ideas in common? Ahas?
Yep. Connections, but also, so one of the things that would be really nice to emphasize in Aikido is not just telling and retelling stories, but making them more useful or even taking action somehow on them,
Yeah.
right? That would be really, really nice. So those 10 minutes of every hour could in fact do that.
Mm. Yeah. Now, the way that I described it in talking with Khalid and Jose was you take part because it's interesting and you can take away anything that is your takeaway and bring it further in your own network. And all the networks together would be forming the Upkido Commons. And that's a kind of open question of mine. Is that the best way, or is that an effective way to do it? Is kind of yeah, you experience a number of uh, processes or methods or nuggets or uh, interesting, insightful conversations, and then you take it away and it's up to you to do something about it, or does the Upkido Commons have a kind of scaffolding or protocoling or whatever we would call it
Yeah,
to do something for the whole?
I like that. I just realized it's 9 and I have a standing call to go join. Um,
Yeah,
this was really good. I like the nugget sharing sessions. It'd be great. That'd be fun.
yeah, absolutely. So glad we could reschedule this at a time which we could both use, and I'll confirm Khalid's invitation for next week, and hopefully it'll work out with it putting his young kids to bed.
Sounds good. And I will ping Amy and see if Amy wants to join the same conversation.
Wonderful. Okay,
Yeah.
so have a great week and speak again soon.
Thanks, Hank. Same here. Ciao.
Bye.